Market ends at fresh closing high as financial and auto heavyweights support the benchmarks. All sectors except Nifty IT close higher as the index snaps its two-session gaining streak. Wholesale inflation hits a 16-month high in June at 3.36%. Higher food prices cause inflation to shoot up. Zomato and Swiggy hike platform fees across key markets. While Zomato has increased the fee from 5 to 6 rupees, Swiggy says its 7 rupees fee is discounted to 5 rupees. Apple India sales surged 33% to hit a record of almost $8 billion from $6 billion last year. In a market dominated by Android phones, this is testament to Apple making inroads, especially in the smartphone segment. It is a Bloomberg report. Marico's Saugata Gupta loses the top spot in FMCG CEO pay scale to ITC's Sanjeev Puri after a 6% decline in Gupta's annual salary for FY24. We tell you how much CEOs from FMCG companies are paid. Evidence of collusion between officials in government railway police, the BMC and Ego Media, the owner of Ghatkopar hoarding that collapsed in Mumbai. Mumbai crime branch officials filed a 3,000-page charge sheet. The plot to assassinate Donald Trump is likely to strengthen his campaign. Political scientist Ian Brimmer speaks exclusively to NDTV. Big blow to jailed former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan as the Pakistani government moves to ban his party, the PTI, over alleged anti-state activities. Good evening and welcome. You're watching Profit 360 on NDTV Profit, and I'm Nupur Talwar Suri. As always, over the next half hour, we bring you all the news from the markets as well as the top news nationally and globally. But first up, here's a look at how the markets have performed today, and Rucha is joining us for a quick check of the markets. Rucha, Nifty and Sensex hitting record highs today?
Yes, that's right, Nupur. Talking about Nifty 50, it topped an all-time high, new high of 24,635, but ended a tad lower after a volatile trade today. So it ended around 24,560 levels. Now, talking about the top gainers, we have ONGC, which hit a new all-time high after a gap of almost 10 years. SBI Life and Shriram Finance also contributed positively, up around 3% each in trade today. Top losers include LTI Mindtree, which is set to report its results on the 17th. The other losers, we also have Grasim and Asian Paints down about 1.5% each in trade today. Now moving on to Nifty IT, as the earnings season continued, Nifty IT ended in the red after hitting an all-time high of 39,567. Top losers include TCS, Infosys. So largely the top IT companies ended in the red, but HCL Tech managed to end in the green after reporting an inline quarter and maintaining the FY25 guidance. The other stocks that were in focus today are the tire stocks. Now, MRF, the most expensive counter, surged nearly 2% after reports of price hike effective July 18 were in the news. So this is what we have for the market check in today's trade.
All right, Richa, thank you very much for that. Well, the IT sector continued its rally in early trade today before slipping into the red. The Nifty IT index has risen by over 20% since the Lok Sabha election results last month. IT giant TCS is up 7% and HCL Tech is about 4% since they reported their first quarter results. So is this the beginning of the big IT comeback, or is it just euphoria? We spoke to Mana Chopra of Nuvama Institutional to understand exactly what this is. And here's what he told us.
Talking about the present and what we look going forward, I think we've seen a very, very strong run-up coming into this space. But one thing we shouldn't forget, that majority of the mutual funds to our last study indicates that majority of them are still underweight. So a frontline sector which is majority still underweight, and the kind of results or the previews that we are getting and any shift in terms of the guidance or the parameters, once the mutual fund starts to chase the frontline space, I think, that leaves to another strong leg up coming in, and the kind of a run up that we've seen recently, the way the IT index has breached its Feb highs with a lot of stocks showing strong cash led buying. I think there is a reasonable room still on the upside, and we still foresee IT index going towards the 45,000, and the coming 3 to 6 months should be very good for the IT index in general.
Well, all right. India's wholesale inflation hit a 16-month high in June. Higher food prices, particularly vegetables, contributed to the rise in inflation. Manufactured products, too, became more expensive. Pallavi is joining us to share us more details about this. Hi, Pallavi. Take us through the broad numbers that have come in today.
Right. So as you said, India's wholesale inflation has continued to trend upwards. It's come in at a 16-month high. It's risen 3.36% for the month of June. That's compared to a figure of about 2.6% that we'd seen in May. On a sequential basis as well, wholesale prices rose by about 0.4%. That's compared to a rise of about 0.3% that we'd seen in the previous month. This is on a sequential basis. Now, let's have a quick look at some of the key internals. Now, inflation in manufactured products, that's the largest component of the index, rose 1.43%. That's compared to a contraction of 0.78% that we'd seen in May. Within this category as well, it was actually food products which saw the sharpest rise, rising by about 4.3% in June compared to a rise of about 2.7% in May. But food article inflation rose 10.9% in June. That's compared to a rise of about 9.8% in May. Within food articles, it was vegetables that saw the sharpest rise at 38.8%. That's compared to a rise of about 32.45% in the previous month. Onion prices, for instance, saw the sharpest spike even within the vegetables category, rising by 93.4% on an annual basis. That's compared to a rise of about 58% in the previous month. So, that's some of the broad contours. We do expect WPI inflation to continue to rise going forward, but at the same time, it could also see some relief from the base effect.
All right, Pallavi, thank you very much for joining us on the broadcast with those details. Well, some bad news for everyone ordering food online. Zomato and Swiggy have both hiked their platform fee yet again. Rishabh Bhatnagar is joining us with more details. Now, the markets have cheered this move, though. Rishabh, tell us more about the kind of hikes we are seeing in their platform fee.
Right, so food delivery giants Zomato and Swiggy have sort of teased and hiked their platform fees across various key markets. Now, across Delhi, NCR, Bangalore and Mumbai, which are the top 3 markets in the country, Zomato has hiked its fee to about 6 rupees per order from the earlier 5 rupees per order. That's about a 20% hike. And in other key markets, Swiggy has hiked and rather teased a 7 rupee fee, which it currently shows discounted to rupees 5 per order. Now, this is again in line with the growing quest for profitability. We've seen Zomato grow leaps and bounds over the last 4 quarters. We're seeing Swiggy head for an IPO, so obviously it wants to head for improved profitability metrics, and a key factor of that is that mandatory platform fee. Now, platform fee, for those who haven't heard of the term before, is a flat fee that is charged by these platforms that is separate from the GST, from the restaurant charges, the handling charges, and the other sort of miscellaneous terms that are levied when you order food from online delivery platforms. In fact, in its March quarter letter, Zomato had also stated that one of the key reasons for their improved profitability and improving margins is the introduction of the platform fee.
All right, Rishabh, thank you very much for that. Now, Marico CEO Saugata Gupta took a pay cut, while ITC CEO Sanjeev Puri got a huge 54% salary hike. Let's take a look at how much FMCG CEOs earn, and Sesa Sen has this report.
After 2 years of leading the pack, Marico CEO Saugata Gupta has been replaced by ITC's Sanjeev Puri as the highest paid CEO in the FMCG sector. This shift comes after Gupta received a 6% decline in his annual pay in FY24, taking home roughly 24 crore in a year that was marked by rural slowdown, input cost volatility and even stiff competition from local packaged good companies. On the other hand, Puri's rise to the top from being ranked 4th in the pecking order in FY24 comes as a result of ITC's strong performance and growth over the past year. Now, Gupta ranks 2nd in the current fiscal year, followed by Nestle's Suresh Narayanan and Rohit Jawar respectively. The 4th in the list is Dabur's Mohit Malhotra, and Tata Consumers Sunil D'Souza ranks 5th. Both Nestle and ITC have given their CEOs a double-digit hike, while others have given their CEOs single-digit hike. The FMCG sector is on a recovery mode, so it is interesting to see what the dynamics of the CEO compensation packages plays out as a result of the change.
Now, Apple India's sales rose 33% compared to last year to a record high of $8 billion. According to a Bloomberg report, iPhones accounted for more than half of the sales in India. Now, this is good news for Apple because India is an Android-dominated market, and this surge in revenue means that Indians are willing to make that shift. Now, Apple is viewing India as the alternative to China in terms of production. The company's Sri Perumbudur plant has assembled $14 billion worth of iPhones in India in the last fiscal. That's 14% of its smartphones. Now, the government's first budget since the re-election is up next week, while Aurodeep Nandi of Nomura, India, expects job creation to be an important issue that could reflect in the budget this year. SBI's Soumya Kanti Ghosh believes strategic growth may be a key factor in the budget.
One is you have the NREGA, right? So the Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. So you could sort of continue to have a larger outlay for the rural employment program. The second aspect is around whether you give a consumption stimulus that in turn encourages companies to restart their private capex cycles, and in turn then create jobs. And the third aspect is more direct intervention, which is be it in terms of SOPs for MSMEs, for manufacturing, say expanding PLI schemes. So focus more on explicit job creation.
I think the government cannot abandon the path of fiscal consolidation. The only difference which we can see is that maybe the government could go a little slow on the fiscal consolidation. Instead of aggressive consolidation, it can still pursue to the market that it is clear on its agenda of taking the fiscal deficit to 4.5% by FY26. I don't know whether the government wants to take it lower or is there a need to take it lower. But even if the government, and we believe that the fiscal deficit could be set a little below 5% in the budget, if not at 5%, to show the intent that the government is keen on consolidation fiscal deficit. One interesting point which I'd like to point out is that in the past, if you look into the interim budget and the actual budget for the last 3 elections, beginning from FY4, I think every time the actual fiscal deficit has been different from the interim fiscal deficit by not more than 10 to 20 basis points. So by that logic, the fiscal deficit should be close to 5% or maybe a little 10 basis points lower than the 5% in the budget, which is going to be presented on July 23.
Well, time for a very short break here, but on the other side, we bring you a wrap of all the sports action and an up. Charu, give us more details in terms of what has the High Court said about this.
So this is a very intriguing case where a company that goes by the name of Lilly Packers went up to the High Court against 3 of its employees, saying that they left the company before their lock-in period of 3 years was over. Delhi High Court had 2 questions to consider. Number 1, are these lock-in periods in job contracts valid and basically are something that can, be on something on which litigation can be pursued on in a court of law, and are these arbitrable? Now, let's get into it. So, the Delhi High Court said that these are the contracts which take care of the health of an organization and do not violate upon any fundamental rights that are present, and that is why they are arbitrable. They are something that on which litigation can be agreed upon and or something on which courts of law can decide upon. And since they are something that on which fundamental rights can not be infringed, they are also something on which arbitration is purely acceptable.
All right, Charu, thank you very much for joining us and bringing those details to us. Well, the family office of the former captain of the Indian cricket team, Mahendra Singh Dhoni, was one of the investors in a 200 crore rupee funding round at Bluesmart. This makes it Dhoni's third investment in startups in the automobile sector. Some of Dhoni's other investments include electric cycle maker Emotorad, used car retailer Cost24, and digital lending platform Khata Book. Bluesmart is a ride-hailing service like Ola and Uber, but it only uses electric vehicles. This 200 crore funding will help the company in expanding its operations. It will also help in building comprehensive EV charging infrastructure in major Indian cities. Well, the Ghatkopar hoarding case now. A 3,000-page charge sheet has been filed before a Mumbai court by a special investigation team of the Mumbai crime branch. The charge sheet clearly points to evidence of collusion of the government officials with Ego Media, the firm that put up the illegal hoarding. The hoarding collapsed last month, killing 17 people and injuring 74. Radhika Ramaswamy has more details about the charge sheet.
Sure, as far as this charge sheet is concerned, which has been filed by Mumbai Crime Branch SIT before a court, multiple glaring loopholes have been mentioned in the charge sheet. In fact, it talks about several administrative and legal loopholes as far as the approval for this illegal hoarding is concerned. It talks about the collusion between the BMC, between the GRP, as well as the advertising agency to ensure that this hoarding comes up by bypassing every possible rule. In fact, it speaks about a soil test that was supposed to be conducted, that was recommended, but the authorities bothered to not conduct it as it would involve more cost and will cause delay in the erection of hoarding, because when the excavation work was going on, it led to a loosening of soil and therefore a tree in the nearby area also fell. Therefore, a soil test was conducted which was completely ignored. Those warning signs were ignored, which absolutely led to the collapse. So soil test not conducted. Besides that, it also speaks about stability certificate. Stability certificate was in fact issued without the structural engineer. The structural engineer, who is now behind bars, did not bother to visit the site, and despite that, this particular certificate was issued. And beyond that, of course, Khaisar Khalid, who is under the radar, who was the one instrumental in giving approval, the former commissioner of the GRP, also, sort of discussed with several department heads to sort of bypass legal loopholes to ensure that BMC's approval is not required and only GRP's approval is required in the erection of the hoarding.
All right, thank you for that, Radhika. Now, torrential rains have brought Chiploon railway station in Maharashtra to a standstill. Karnataka's Harangi catchment area faces the brunt of heavy rains, causing water levels to rise. Meanwhile, northern India, including Delhi and NCR, experience continuous rain showers.